No? Okay. All right, go ahead. Oh, well, before Matt introduces me, this is my videographer, David Darling back there, and he's here today doing some video, and so just, you're being videoed, so just so you know.
Hi, I'm Matthew Bright from Sling Area Schools. I'm presiding today. If you need to be signed in for credit hours, I'll be back there by the stairway where you came in, and I'll be there at the end of the session as well to sign you out. Although he needs very little introduction, today you're here for Bob Phillips, composer, string pedagogue, teacher trainer, and conductor, who is renowned both as an educator and an innovator in string education. Bob brings a wealth of knowledge to his presentations. Discover how to create highly successful beginning string classes. What are the factors of success that ensure your students will play well, be engaged, and most of all, continue in music? Come and learn from the master of large group instruction, whether you have 20 or 200 beginners. Celine's own Bob Phillips.
That was a lovely introduction from Matt, who is the new high school orchestra director in Celine. So that's very, very cool. Yeah, very cool. I feel honored to be introduced by you, Matt. Well, I got to tell you, last week at this time, I was in Tampa, Florida, doing this presentation where it was 85 and sunny. It was really nice. So it was a shock to come back to the state and have it be quite this cold. How many of us teach elementary strings? Raise your hands. God bless you. How many of us teach middle school strings? Again, God bless you. And how many teach high school strings? Yes. How many do all three? Yeah, those are the tired people. Okay, middle school again. Yeah, special corner of heaven for you. It's all reserved. Well, today's topic is starting your strings. It's a great topic because it's the lifeblood. Now, I can tell you, many of you know, since I'm actually at home this weekend, many of you know that I taught in Celine for 27 years. While in Celine, I taught high school the entire way. I also taught elementary the entire way. I taught middle school for about 15, 16 years, and then part-time the rest of the way. Whenever it came to a choice, and we were looking at adding staff or doing anything like that, my number one priority with the superintendent was, you can put me anywhere you want, but I'll never leave the elementary classroom. I've got to start the beginners. I've got to be in that room. They thought that an odd choice at the time, but as we all know, that's where the real teaching is, at least the blood and guts teaching, and that's where a program either thrives or dies. It's that first year of instruction, second year of instruction. And when you see a great, high-flying high school orchestra, everybody in that room should turn around and look at the elementary string teachers, because that's where it started, that's where it happened. And you can't, and the philosophy there is, you can't teach an empty chair. If they don't start, you can't teach them. Okay? The other philosophy I always had is if you start enough kids, boy, a bunch of them are going to be pretty good, right? So you get a lot of kids started, and that's great. So we're going to talk about some different topics today. First of all, recruit, recruit, recruit. Don't use the force. Some teachers do this when they comes to recruiting. They go, Obi-Wan, and they wait for Obi-Wan to tell them what to do. Obi-Wan's not going to be in your room. So the idea is you have to recruit prescriptively. You have to create a team of classroom teachers, administrators, parents, and community. And it is a team. You have to work together with people to create an atmosphere that says, this is a great thing for our kids, for our school, and everybody should be involved in this. And the more you can include the classroom teachers, they should not be the enemy. They should be your teammates in recruiting kids. And I literally had classroom teachers that were in there every day going, oh yeah, you want to be in orchestra, it's awesome, and you should play the violin, you should play the viola. So that's an important thing. Now, how you do that, I don't have time to get into those details today, but if you want to check out our recruiting and retention DVD that Bob Gillespie and I have done, you can check that out, or I also do extended sessions on that topic. So develop a great recruiting demonstration. It's all about the demonstration. If your demonstration isn't powerful, then you're in trouble. So the demonstration has to be thought through in terms of group dynamics, in terms of psychology. I'll just give you one small tip about that. There always comes a moment in every recruiting demonstration called the decision moment. It's the sales moment. In sales they say after you make the sales pitch, whoever talks next loses. And Lloyd Parmentier from Quinlan Fabich is back there and he's laughing. So anyway, so the point is this. Give you a quick psychological tip. You're in a room, you got a lot of kids, and you say, and I'll let you answer the questions. All right, how many of you have ever, let's pretend you're fifth graders for a minute. How many of you have ever seen an instrument before? Raise your hands. Oh, come on, quicker, quicker, quicker. I know it's early in the morning, quicker, put them down. How many people know, and how many of you know anybody in our school that plays an instrument? Raise your hands. Cool, put them down, fast, fast, fast. Okay, how many people have ever seen any of the high school bands, middle school orchestras, any of those groups perform before? Raise your hands. How many people have ever seen any of the instruments played on TV before? Raise your hands. Good, put them down. How many people think they want to join orchestra? Raise your hands. What you're doing is conditioning the reflex of the hand to go up. So instead of group process and group dynamics sitting there working against you, which is everybody looking around going, is anyone going to do this? When you ask that question, if one hand goes up, you'll get one hand. If you get two, you'll get four. If you get five, you'll get 20. If you get 20, you'll get 100. In other words, it's additive. Kids are scanning the room, peripheral vision, looking around, going, oh yeah, cool, everybody's doing it, or boo, nobody's doing it. Very, very important. Follow-up is important, and having a drop-in plan. How do kids add in? It should be possible for kids to add in from day one through senior year in high school. There's got to be a way for kids to add in. Now, there's a lot of challenge with that, but that's part of recruiting. Teach the procedures. Okay, Miss Mars back there, and she's going to do a whole thing on 101 tips, one of the sessions about middle school, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of procedural things in there. And so, in other words, if you want them to know how to take care of the instrument, then you have to teach it. If you want them to know how to walk into the room, how to walk out of the room, you have to teach that and practice it. Let's practice putting our instruments away. You do that every day for a week, and it's a habit. Once it's a habit, you're off to the races. How to sit down and leave. How to function in a music classroom. How to behave. What are your expectations? You practice those things. So you literally say, here's what happens when you have a question. Let's practice that, okay? So, you have a question, what do? You find something wrong in the music. What do you do? Your stand partner's annoying you. What do you do? Practice the procedures. Have a curriculum. Develop one. Use it. The best curriculum is one that's used. Don't have a shelf curriculum. A lot of us have bookshelf curriculums. You write it, you put it on a bookshelf, it's done, you satisfied all the requirements. Real curriculums do this, and the best one out there right now, the ASTA K-12 curriculum, is absolutely astounding. The principal author of that curriculum, Steve Benham, is here this weekend conducting the high school All-State. It's an astounding document, and everybody should own it. It's available through any kind of music retailer. We've got one at the Alfred booth you can look at, but it's an astounding document. So why is it so important to have a curriculum? It's very important if you teach vertically. Well, here's the problem. When you teach horizontally, you're just at one level. I taught 27 years, and here's what I did. I walk in every day. I walk into a high school group, and I'll go, man, those sophomores, they can't do this, this, and this. That junior high teacher should really get their act. Oh, wait a minute, I am the junior high teacher. And so what I did is every day, I got to the point where eventually I kept saying, do it a year earlier, do it the year before. Finally, I got to the point, just fix everything the first year. Just fix it the first year. Get all the precursors down for everything. Shifting, I don't care what it is. Have the movements down, the hand position. All the things that you have to do long term flow from that curriculum. So in other words, here's the problem. If you're teaching just middle school, just elementary, just high school, it's easy to get into your own world and not realize where you're trying to get them to go. So it's very important to have a curriculum where you can all agree and say, and I love doing curriculum writing sessions because they're fun. You just sit there on the board, what should every kid be able to do when they walk out of 7th grade? And you say, well, really, they should all be able to play in D major and G major and C major. They should know these rhythms and so on and so forth. Okay, let's teach that. So that's what a curriculum's all about. That's also goes to the whole issue of evaluation nationally right now. And the more National ASTA is working very hard right now on this curriculum as well as evaluation procedures for administrators. We want to establish national evaluation procedures that will make sense for you in the classroom, okay? So that a non-music administrator can evaluate you in a way that's real and evaluates what you really do, not what they think you do, okay? All right, so have a curriculum. So there's a suggestion. Build the platform. You see this all the time. I get in a lot of orchestra rooms around the United States, and you walk in and you walk into a middle school or high school, and you see kids with flawed platforms. If the platform is flawed, you're trying to build something, on a house of cards, right? It's just going to crash and fall. In other words, again, and I know I often say this when I'm out of state, so it doesn't work so well here. I always say, I don't know if you guys, like wherever I am, I'll say, I'm sure this never happens in Florida, for example, but in Michigan, we occasionally have this problem with a kid that does that. Or occasionally we'll have a kid, I've seen it before once or twice, where a kid will do that, right? Okay, you have to fix those things, especially the first year. The faster you fix it, the better it is. Now, do you have to keep fixing it? Yes. Every year, including high school, you have to do a review of all your playing issues. But my point is this: it is worth taking the time the first year to make sure those things are correct. So let's talk about what those are real quickly. Body stance, instrument placement, right hand placement, so on and so forth, left hand. In group process, think about these issues. For example, if I wanted to, by the way, this is my brand new out-of-the-box fiddle from Sharp Products, my Chen fiddle that's really pretty, I think. So anyway, first time out. Anyway, if I take my violin, and in group process, if kids are sitting in a chair and they pick a violin up, and you say, okay, let's learn to put the violin on your shoulder, and if they do what comes naturally, here's what they'll all do. They'll go, because that's a very natural motion, okay, to do that. Elbow down, so on and so forth, okay? However, if you do the, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever your process is, your number process, but if the point is, if you come from above in group process, they'll always do that. It'll always be parallel. 95 to 98% of them will get it the first time. So you drill that every day for weeks and weeks and weeks. Make sure, as silly as it sounds, you just make sure they always come the same direction. And once it becomes a habit, it's much easier. Now, do you review it in middle school and high school? Absolutely, you have to, because what will happen over time is this. As rehearsals get longer and kids get more tired, they do this. What makes them erode like that? Well, it's the repertoire. As the repertoire gets more and more challenging, there's less and less RAM to be thinking about this, and so they get tired and suddenly they start to do this, okay? Or they do the opposite. They tighten and tense as they, right? Because actually, right hand problems get worse over time because of advancing repertoire. So, some other issues. Let's just do a real quick one on left hand. Everyone take your first finger, hold it up like that. Do this, shake your hand out. Wave at me, wave at yourself, okay? Put your fingers over your finger, first finger. Just let them fall over. Thumb, bent, tap, okay? Fingers over, click nail to nail, okay? Squeeze. Okay, go, release now. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. About 5, that's exactly what when you tell the kids to relax, that's how far down they go. They don't relax from 10 to 0. Now let's keep going. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0 would fall off. Here's what kids do. They set the hand up, they squeeze. You get them, relax. Okay, loosen that up. And in the next session, by the way, I'm going to talk all about tone and how you develop great tone with kids. Issue's the thumb. And they squeeze like crazy and they relax to 5, but you can't see that. It's very difficult to see. We'll talk about prescriptive ways to solve that. But first year, that's a really important thing along with left hand. And remember, basses are different in terms of equipment and approach. I'll talk about that in the next session, about how, depending on what bow they play, it's a very different placement and holding position. All right, so teaching tone, variables of sound. I'll do the basics right now and the advanced version in next hour, the more detailed version. So bowing lanes, bow weight, and bow speed have to be established the first year. So bowing lanes. This is Applebaum, this is Leopold and Mozart, this is all kinds of people. But point is, the first elementary lane is the mezzo forte default lane, which is sort of core sound right in there, somewhere around the center, one side or the other of the center, depending on what your philosophy is on that. And so I teach the mezzo forte lane to start with, and then go to the forte lane towards the bridge and the piano lane toward the fingerboard. Then eventually in middle school, we pick up the intermediate lanes, which are the mezzo piano, piano, and forte lane. I like defining them by dynamics because I think it's simple for kids. It makes sense. I have tried to avoid creating external nomenclature. There's enough in music as it is, right? We have enough stuff we have to learn without adding more stuff. So in other words, you can solve most middle school, at least a lot of middle school intonation problems with this. Just getting the kids in the same bowing lane will solve enormous amounts of problems if you do that. Here's what I see all the time. bows here, 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 all different weights and speeds. Kids are playing orange, red, purple, green chartreuse all at the same time, and we wonder why they don't sound good. Well, the reason they can't, first of all, blend is because they're playing with all those radically different colors. The second reason they can't do it is they can't attack it the same way, because try to attack the same way here as here, let alone you should be in a different bowing lane, radically different. So that's one. And you can see there's an example of bowing lanes. I hope that's relatively in focus. There we go. And you can see just where those different contact points are on the instrument. Okay, bow weight, same thing. Starting with a medium-heavy bow weight. Now here's a big problem. Again, probably we've never seen this in Michigan before, but I can tell you in some states you'll see this. Second violinist, back of the seconds, plays out here with no weight over the fingerboard. Ever seen that happen before? Yeah, and then once they get that way, they stay that way their whole life. You know what I'm saying? All right, so the problem is we have not established the proper use of bowing lanes and weight at that point and speed, and it's become a habit. And so that's their default position. So bowing weights, how much hand weight, arm weight goes into the bow, and how to release it. So the medium-heavy bow weight is a way to start, and then you add weight for a heavy bow weight, and then lighten. But the process of putting weight in and out of the bow also develops finger flexibility. It allows them to control tone, all kinds of things. Again, the whole next hour is all about this, so in great detail. So you can see just examples of bow weight music there. I might ask them to play, as in line 1, I might ask them to play that C major scale in the mezzo forte lane with medium amount of weight. So on and so forth. Heavyweight, now I move towards the bridge. Notice I'm using half notes now, because why am I doing that? I'm forcing them to slow the bow down. If you put the bow in the forte lane and play half notes, they have to slow the bow down, and it forces the behavior and reinforces it, and I'm drilling the behavior. And then very heavy bow weight at the bridge. Almost. Again, forces the behavior. So I like to structure it that way. This is from Sound Innovations Book 3, Ensemble Development, Tone Development. And so anyway, and then reverse. Again, the way to get them to do the opposite is then use faster notes as you go towards the fingerboard. So by the time you get to a very light bow weight, and they inherently will lighten up. So in other words, sometimes the mismatches at the beginning levels, we're playing all quarter notes, but asking them to do different things with the bow and tone, and it's very difficult for them to do that. Bow speed, again, medium slow speed is the starting speed, then slow, then fast, and the intermediate speeds as you work towards artistry. And then again, you can use, these are classic, Mozart kind of exercises. Again, this is from Sound Innovations Book 3, but medium, fast bow speed. I want to teach them to slow the bow down. Slow it a lot further. That pattern alone forces them to do what you want them to do with the bow. And then they get the feel. And then conversely, you can go the other way, to very slow all the way up to very fast. Okay, and then here's a chart that kind of shows you the relationship between the various variables of sound and how they kind of line up for me at the beginning levels, up through the middle school level and even high school level. Okay, developing tone, attack strokes. One of the first things we have to do is just get them to play with a nice détaché, right? So things like the bow riding exercise. I'm sure you've all do this. This is kind of a common one. Set the forearm on your leg and ask them to write their name in the air to develop finger flexibility, right? And with the German bow, you can do it the opposite way, the whole thing. It works for basses. And then developing a great détaché. Now the next big thing is martelé. And they have to learn how to attack at some point, right? And you get the kids that can't attack at all the way to the kids, the Frankenstein attackers, that do that. And it's different instrument to instrument. Again, this session I'm going to do on tone the next hour, I'm going to show you the variables and exactly how complex that is, instrument to instrument, and why it's very different violin to bass. All right, so if I look at this, a great way is, of course, string wiggle exercise. and then the click. You're developing a little bit of collé here too at the same time. But the point is, they have to learn to do this. Here's how kids start notes up through middle school if you're not careful. Every note starts like that. Every note starts like that. No weight in the bow, because they use the force. They place the bow wherever it happens to hit. Guess what? They made all the musical decisions for you right before you even start. All the musical decisions have been made, and you can't change it, right? Unless you tell them, all right, so let's get in the same part of the bow. Now, the same part of the string, same part of the bow, this much weight. Put the weight in first, pull and release the weight. So we'll start with 5, and then we'll go down to, or what I would say was, we'll start with a medium heavy bow weight and release to a medium light bow weight. And that's the essence of the martelé, is starting with weight, pull, release the weight. Or you get the kid that does this, pull but no release. Or they start with no weight, add weight, or they start with no weight and leave it that way. Back to the second violins, that's what they do. They don't start with weight. That's why they do that. Okay, because it's kind of drilled into them. So, learning to play martelé, wiggle the string. So on and so forth. Okay, again, great detail next hour, so I don't want to go into this too much. Developing the left hand, of course, developing all the finger patterns. Now, here's the important thing about finger patterns at the beginning. That is the most dangerous finger pattern in America. Why? Because we leave them there too long. It's D majoritis. And as long as you're playing D major the rest of your life, which it happens a lot, you see that in sight reading rooms all the time. Doesn't matter what the piece is, we're playing in D major, right? Ever had that happen? Where all of a sudden, as Dan Long would say, kids are playing C narps and C flatuels all over the place. Yeah. So here's the issue. Why do we teach those hand frames for whatever, depending on the instrument? To help them mentally map the instrument. It's a mental mapping issue. Does anybody actually play like that? Absolutely not. Nobody plays like that. Do you ever see a pro player go like this in these block positions? No. And the young kids, what they do, the beginners, they get in those block positions and they squeeze. But it's important at the beginning they understand the frame. So the quicker you get them moving around, doing exercises, so they're sliding second fingers, sliding first fingers, doing little drills like that. So in other words, they might know the D ladder, and they can try one finger at a time. Or they can try just sliding so that there's some flexibility and they're not squeezing too hard, and then get them around the hand frames quickly. And then also beginning to develop, now this is more a middle school thing here, but at the beginning, doing a little exercise with them where they don't have to be able to read these notes. You do it by rote, you can just go. So you understand that the finger is not static, but it does move. And that's how I develop shifting, that's how I develop vibrato, all those things the first year, getting them moving the fingers around. Going from rote to note, developing literacy, big issue the first year. Why do they need to learn to read? Well, they need to learn to read for any number of reasons, not the least of which is, of course, I'm a big fan of playing by rote at the beginning and by ear, and I'll tell you a quick story about that. But let me answer my own question first. Literacy is important, and why do we all have to learn to read? Because the forms and the music that we want to play at some point get so complicated, it's not easily played by ear because it's just too long. Most of us don't have that kind of RAM in our brain. Why are jazz tunes and fiddle tunes relatively easy to memorize? Because it's a very predictable form for the most part, and they're not too long, okay? So that's the issue. All right, going from rote to note. Really famous teacher in the United States, elementary teacher, fabulous program, called me last year and said, Bob, my elementary kids are crashing and I think they're all going to quit. What? What are you talking about? And he said, well, it's just, I don't know, I've never had this feeling before. I said, okay, let me take a guess. I'm guessing you've had a schedule change. He said, yeah, how'd you know that? Same teacher, same kids, what's driving it? Schedule change. Okay, I said, all right, well, let me take another guess. You're doing everything the same way you've always done it. He said, you're right. Let me make a suggestion. I said, I'm guessing knowing your teaching process and what you do, you are heavily into the book at the beginning and you really focus on literacy right away. And you've always done that. He goes, you're right. Get rid of the book. He looked at me and said, You write books for a living and you're telling me to get rid of the book? I'm saying get rid of the book. Pick the instrument up, get them playing some tunes, because what's the number one reason kids want to play an orchestra at the beginning? 2 reasons. One, you. A leader has said, come follow me, and they do. Yeah, that's exactly why they do it. It's because of you. It's your personality. Number 2 reason is they want to play a tune. They don't want to play the viola part to, Mahler 3, and they want to play a tune. So get them playing tunes and get them sounding good. Over 78% of the kids will tell you the number one reason they drop out is they don't think they're very good at it. Why don't they think they're very good at it? They don't sound good. Why don't they sound good? They can't play a tune. We focus so much on literacy and reading, they don't sound good. I walked into a classroom as a consultant several years ago in the Chicago area, and Lloyd would know this school. Experienced high school teacher, very good, excellent program, middle school great, new elementary teacher. They had met 6 one-hour sessions once a week for 6 weeks. They were on page 22 of their book in 6 lessons. Well, you know what they looked like and sounded like? It was a train wreck. It was a train wreck because she was teaching out of the book. They're doing great. So literacy is important, but rote to note. All right, so great thing is to start with rhythm patterns. So for example, if I was going to teach rhythm patterns at the beginning, here's the way I might do that. Let's see if I can find this. Okay, let's just count numbers. 1, so we'll go 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Okay, here we go. Ready? On your mark, get set, ready, count. Ready, now look and count. Ready, now look and count. Okay, ready? Keep going, go. Get the idea. All right, so the point is this. Verbal association, this is a Gordon thing, this is a Jim's process thing, so on and so forth. But the idea is that verbal association, you can use flashcards, you can use PowerPoint, you can use Smart Music does this. All these flashcard templates are on Finale and Sibelius, you can develop them. But using these kinds of drills to get them to learn to count rhythms, verbal association is a great way. Now, of course, first I would model them, I would play them, so on and so forth. But this is a great way to start to get to literacy. All right, note names. What's a great way to start at the beginning? First of all, how many young teachers are there here? Okay, note names always, never finger numbers. Okay, don't use finger numbers. You experience people are laughing. Because what trap do you get yourself into? Okay, guys. I want you to start on high 2, low 2, blah, 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 and you got to say 4 things, right? D, right? So it's common language for all of us. So I love starting with either flashcards or with PowerPoint using color. So I color associate the ladders, the D ladder, the A ladder, so that it helps them in initial steps of reading. Talk to your reading teachers. Color is a very cool thing that you can do. So, everybody pluck the note D on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Pluck, okay? All right? Find the note E. Ready, go. E. So on and so forth. And then what you can do is you've built up your D scale, and then you can mix up the slides in any order and have them go, okay, so ready, okay, I would say, ready, now, look, and pluck. Boom, and they pluck it 4 times. I might go, ready, now, look, and pluck. So they're associating seeing the note name with the note name on the instrument and where that finger is. So that's a very powerful way to do that. And then I would actually begin to introduce staff notation so that they can begin to, again, associate with actual staves and pitches. And this works really graciously for us. It's a big advantage we have over band. This is very difficult in band due to the number of clefs, staffs, everything else. So again, I would go through teaching them various patterns, just finding the notes on the instrument, then actually going to the staff. Now I'm teaching a tune. So let's say I teach the tune first, bottom cabbage down. Use bass player solfege real quick. Everybody knows bass player solfege? La, 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 la. That's bass player solfege. Okay. All right, so here we go. Got the idea. Now we start to verbal associate. So there's your first pitch. F sharp, ready, go. Ready, now, look and play. Ready, now, look and play. Ready, now, look and play. So on and so forth. Now I mix the cards up. That's when we find out if they're reading. Big problem with reading at the beginning. You will find that most times young adolescent males, when they drop out at the end of the first year, the reason they always give you is when you say, why are you dropping out? Boys will always say this, I don't know. And they don't know. Actually, the young male adolescent brain does not know why they're doing what they're doing. It's part of research. But anyway, and my wife says that actually never changes. But the point is, we do learn adaptive behavior over time, guys. But here's the issue with that. Number one, young elementary students, males drop out is they don't read. It's a reading issue. They play, they don't read. They're hiding in the back. They get far enough in the book, they can't play by ear anymore or into music. Number one reason. So, so this is where I find out by doing these kind of drills, who can read and who can't read. I can mix it up. Same thing with musical symbols. I can begin to use musical symbols and make sure. This is great for high school kids. Just do the symbols. If you want to scare yourself to death, walk into your high school orchestra and ask them what all the road map signs mean. You don't even want to know. You know, you put up a DS. What does that mean? You get like 5 answers. And you say, I'm going into the sight reading room with you, and you don't know what that means. Okay, so let's talk about aural skills. Tuning. La, 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 la. La, 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 la. La, 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 la. Good. What are we doing? Audiating. So great way, get the kids to hear do and audiate the A or the D. In beginning stages of tuning, you've got to get them to hear it and audiate it. Now, it's also a great thing that we can use clip-on tuners and all those things. But eventually you got to wean them off any kind of artificial support, life systems like that, and get them to actually, hear and audiate. And that's the issue there. So I can't go into great detail with that, but that's the idea. Pitch matching. A lot of you know this game. This is a Bob Culver game called Pitch Detective, where I play E, and I ask you hide in my sound, and you play E, and I say you hide in her sound. When you tell a kid, I've never seen this fail anywhere in the country. Somebody's playing hide in her sound. When they do that, you know what they do? They match bow weight, bow lane, bow speed perfectly. Because why? As soon as they do something different, it sticks out, and they know that. Whoa, is that a revelation? What does that tell you? So if they're not playing in the same bowing lane, bow speed, what are they doing if they're playing an orchestra? Sticking out, right? So anyway, but that's a great aural skill, is to just get them to match and then have, go around, tap kids and say, all right, if I tapped you, you get to play a little out of tune. Now find them, pitch detective. Where are they? Where are the wrong notes? Getting them to do this is part of a process I like to do with middle school and high school, particularly getting them to listen across the room, front to back, around within their section. Because a lot of times they're listening, but they don't know where they're supposed to be listening. And they only listen to the thing around them. It's like, this is a bubble. This is a bubble. The worst one is here. You go into most high school orchestras, that's the bubble. Honest to God, they don't even know anyone else is in the room, right? The first violins are so wrapped up into listening to that first violin sound, they never listen down. And that's why the orchestra doesn't sound in tune, because they're not hearing that. Aural games, like here's a quick one. I'll show you. You can lot back to me. You all know that as the Mahler Bass Concerto, right? Okay, it's from the second movement of the Mahler Bass Concerto. That gets a little laugh. Anyway, That's from Mahler, right, Mahler, and we bass players think of it like it's our big solo in the repertoire. So anyway, all right, so I'm gonna do some games with you. I want you to loop this. Okay, we're gonna loop it. So just keep singing it. Keep going. Listen to this. Sing that. Here's the point. I love to play those games with elementary kids, with high school kids. I would do a little simpler patterns. What am I doing? Orff. 4 years in the elementary classroom, string classroom, and I had I had this wonderful opportunity. I went to superintendent. Had a general music teacher that was an hour short because of declining enrollment in the 80s. I said, how about we teach general music and orchestra? It was fabulous. Now, she learned to play the fiddle pretty well, but let me tell you what I learned. I learned how to be a music teacher. Everybody should spend time in an elementary general music classroom. First of all, they're amazing. Second of all, I learned so much about the fundamentals of music and learning. So anyway, this basic Orff games. Now, in the high school, you can make that really complicated. You can include improvisation, lots of stuff. But I love to just have them use it for balance, for tone. Now, okay, I'll play it, so all of a sudden I would do that and go against a legato thing here. Now, and then I would say, switch it, or listen, and I love going around the room where they have to listen around the room and then switch sections. So violas are playing one lick, cellos another, whatever. Now listen to the other lick. Okay, everybody rotate one lick that way. Oh my gosh, you can't believe what it does for their ears. Just unbelievable. Now when you go back and play Mozart or Beethoven, they hear Beethoven in a whole different way. Why? Because they're listening. Okay, they're not just playing notes. All right, and then another great string game is Bob Culver would call it Dudley Do-Right. I do the String Ranger, where you take a Wagner opera concept and you just put leitmotifs, teach the kid leitmotifs for various things. How many people know the piece of mine, 'Twas the Night Before Christmas? Anyone ever done that? Yeah, okay. It's a whole narration piece where you read 'Twas the Night Before Christmas and play sound effects. Getting kids to associate at that beginning level sound, mood, and emotion is a great thing. So, it's the bad guy sound, the happy sound, whatever it is, and beginning to associate, so they're starting to connect music with passion. Okay, a couple last things. Learning how to practice is very important. I won't belabor this other than to say you got to teach them how to practice. Nobody teaches us how to practice anymore. We used to do that, but we don't do that anymore. Teach them how to practice. Take class periods where you do nothing but just bring a kid up and have them go through something. How would you practice that? What would you do at home? They don't know how to do it. They really don't know how to do it. Teach kids, not the lesson plans. Big elementary concept. In other words, here's the point. Math teachers, science teachers are a little guilty of this sometimes. They teach the curriculum, not the kids. You're the best teachers in America by far. Why? You go in and every day you go in with a lesson plan. Nobody really teaches it. You get partway through it, something happens, you go, okay. And you go another direction because you're very creative. And you take the teachable moment. You go, okay, this is working. I've got to reinforce this because we're really getting somewhere. We're spending way too much time blasting through curriculum and not enough time on learning. Okay, you history and philosophy people, it wasn't Maddie that says this, it was the other guy. Anyway, I can't remember, but it was less teaching, more learning. Less teaching, more learning. So point here is teach the kids, not the lesson plans. Make sure you get your eyes out of the score and you're focused on kids. Using technology. Use technology. There's so many great ones. Skype. I do a lot of Skype clinics. It's awesome. I can sit in my studio. I come in and work with kids. It's a fantastic way. You can get anybody in the country to do that. Smart music. Great technology. Retain. In your elementary programs, make sure that every day You are thinking about retention and the next year. Right now, you've got to know, this is part of an overall thing I do in retention, but you've got to know exactly what day the counselors are coming in to talk to the kids. Because if the counselors get to the kids first, you're dead. You got to get to them before the counselors do. Because they get to create, whoever gets to them first and talks about next year creates the mindset. And then you have to undo it. It's much easier to shape a decision than alter one. Okay? You can shape it much easier than you can alter it. So that's just I can't go into great depth. I do like whole days on that one. But anyway, and then finally, motivate, motivate, motivate. Be the atmosphere you want your classroom to be. And when things are not going well, always look in the mirror. Here's what I did. I asked myself these questions every day of my life. I said, do I want to teach 30 years or do I want to teach the same year 30 times? I did not want to teach the same year 30 times. The other thing I asked myself is, am I preparing the kids for my past or their future? It's part of the reason I got into alt style so big, did other things. I just woke up one day and said, what am I doing? Why am I not embracing the future? Now, I got there, a few years before a lot of other people did, but still, the idea was I just woke up and said, I've got to think about this. So be the change. Assume that you're the problem. Anytime I had a problem, the first thing I did is became reflective, put up videotapes. What am I doing to engender that behavior? I never assumed it was the kid first. And then use music to motivate. The coolest thing in the world, here's the essence of what I'm going to say today, if you want to wrap it up in one sort of sentence. We've got the greatest job in America because we've got something magical to give kids that they love, that the human race loves. Music. Use music. Never apologize for music. Don't be an apologist. We do that sometimes, because we think, well, they won't like classical music. Yeah, they will. Everybody loves classical music if you just teach it to them. Everybody loves alt styles music. Everybody loves rock. People like these different things. Music is motivating. Always use music to motivate. Example, and then I'll finish here. I hate this message. Kids, you worked really hard. Awesome job. The last 5 weeks, whatever. We had a great concert. Now everyone gets to watch a video. So the message is work really hard, do a great job, and if you do that, you don't have to play music. The reward is always you get to play music. So when the kid walked up to me and said, Mr. Phillips, do we have to play today? Have to play, you get to play. You know what we're going to do today? This is going to be so awesome. And I go in and two things. One, they go, dude, I can't deal. It's like, and second of all, they learned right away the reward was music. So what do you want to play? I used to love to take music in from last year and say, hey, here's a folder. We've got this odd day here today, so who wants to play? Pick a piece from last year you like to play. Who'd like to stand up and guest conduct it? So on and so forth. Use music to motivate. Thank you very much for being a great audience. I'm going to, go ahead, that's fine. All the way at the end of the hall in 15 minutes, I'm doing what I think is an incredibly thorough presentation of tone development and how to develop tone at all levels. Thank you.
Probably be best, and then he's going to be with the Tecumseh Orchestra, so we have questions after the Tecumseh concert.